All right, so when I begin a pre-trip, walking to the bus, obviously you check under the bus. If you're looking for any leaks, you check the bus side to side, making sure that it's not leaning. You're gonna open your hood latches. Pull the hood open. I usually start on this side. What I'm looking for in here is I'm checking all of my hoses, making sure that everything is tight, properly mounted and secured. I don't see any leaking, any bulges, tears, or rips. I'm checking my serpentine belt, making sure that there's no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. I'm checking the alternator, making sure that it's properly mounted and secured, as well as the AC compressor. I'm also checking my wiper fluid, making sure it's properly mounted and secured, as well as the, again, with the AC compressor, you want to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. I can see my radiator fan. I reach in, it moves side to side, not front and back. So it is properly mounted and secured and looks like it's working properly. From this side here, you just kind of want to check all your wiring, make sure that nothing looks damaged, frayed, or missing. Everything looks good. You're going to check your all your wiring for your headlights. Make sure that it is properly mounted and secured, and that it's not frayed or damaged or missing. Then from this side of the bus, we are going to make sure that this is all the wiring is properly secured. Nothing looks damaged or frayed. All the wiring looks like it's in good condition. We're going to check our coolant. We're going to make sure our coolant is at a proper level, proper operating level, and that it doesn't need to be refilled or topped off. We're going to check our power steering fluid. We're going to make sure that it is at the proper level as well. We're going to make sure that it doesn't need to be topped off, and both of those containers are properly mounted and secured. I don't see any leaks, bulges, or damage to either of the hoses, and they are properly mounted and secured. Excuse me. You have your steering gearbox. It is properly mounted and secured. Your steering linkage is properly mounted and secured. It is not damaged in any way. It is also properly mounted with the castle nut and the cotter pin, which are right here. Let's see. Right here, I would check my oil. By checking my oil, I do need to do that with the engine off. I would pull the stick out. I would make sure that it's at a proper level and is not below the refill line. And then the transmission fluid, I would also check, but I would check that with the bus running, and I would also make sure that that is at a proper level based on manufacturer specifications, and it doesn't need to be refilled. Again, over here, I'm checking all my hoses and clamps, all my wiring, just making sure that nothing looks damaged, torn, ripped, leaking. I don't see any wet spots anywhere. Excuse me. And then also over here, down in here, where that other pulley is, you want to make sure that you're checking the water pump and that it is properly mounted and secured. Good. At this point, I'm going to shut the hood. Come to the door, the driver's or the student entrance door. We're going to check the glass on both sides, make sure that it's not cracked or damaged. The seals are all in good condition. They're not missing or torn, and that everything looks like it's in proper working condition. The hinges are good, not tight or locked up. We're also going to check our handrail on both sides here. Make sure that they're properly mounted and secured. We're checking the steps to make sure they're free from any trip hazards. Nothing is pulling up and that the white tape is visible and in good condition and is not peeling up. When we step on the bus, we're going to turn around. We're going to check our headboard right here. Make sure that it's properly mounted and secured in good condition and isn't torn or ripped. We're also going to check our bodily fluid cleanup kit. We're going to make sure that it is sealed and properly mounted and secured and that nothing is missing from the kit. As if anything is missing, it needs to be replaced. The whole kit needs to be replaced. The first aid kit, we're going to make sure it is properly mounted and secured. You are allowed to be missing 2 items from that kit before it needs to be filled. Over here, we also have our registration and insurance readily available. Down here, we're going to check our fire extinguisher. We're going to make sure it is in the green and that the label is current with the date 2025 and that it is properly mounted and secured. And then over here in this red box, we are going to make sure that our triangles are available and that all 3 of them are in the box and that they are properly mounted and secured and that nothing is missing. From there, we are going to sit down at the bus. Get the key. I'm going to turn the bus to start the bus so I can test my buttons over here on the left side. I am going to start the bus with a safe start, allowing the engine to prime. I do see that my ABS light has lit up and that it is going to go off right now. And then the check engine light is on. And then as soon as that goes off, I can safely start the bus. All right. So over here, we're going to check my AC. Make sure the rear AC turns on. This is the temperature gauge or temperature dial. And then this is the fan speed. Right here you have your rear heater, your midship heater, and the driver heater or defrost. To run those, you do need to have the boost pump on or the water pump for the heater on. This is the heated mirror switch. This is the front AC, so we're going to turn that on and make sure that it's blowing. And then this is the temperature control for that. Then you have your driver dome light. Right here. And then it's turning on and off. And then the inside dome or inside lights on both sides are all properly turning on. None of them are burnt out. Then you have your noise suppression switch. You would use this at railroad crossings. It basically turns off the radio, the AC, any of your fans, turns off anything on the bus that makes any noise. So that way when you open your door and your window for a railroad crossing, you don't have any distractions. Over here, you have the air and the defrost controls. So you have that. Then we have our steering wheel. There shouldn't be more than 2 inches of play. I have my open and closed door. I have my flashers, ambers, and red override. My turn signal and wipers. My wipers are working. Press in the wiper handle and verify that your fluid is working as well. So that is in good working condition. Inside here, we have our def gauge, which never can be below half. We always refill before half. So we're at a good operating level right now. You have your coolant temperature, water temperature. You want that between 180 and 220. Right now we just started the bus, so it is in a good range. I will keep my eye on it as we're going through the test. Down below, you have your trans temperature. You want to make sure that that is in the proper operating range for manufacturer specifications, as well as your oil pressure. You want that to be in proper operating range based on manufacturer specifications. Then we have our RPM gauge. Right now I can see that the RPMs are at 1300. If I rev the engine, the RPM needle does move, so it is in proper working condition. Then you have our speedometer. I am sitting still, but I will visually verify that that is working once we start to move. Over here you have your battery voltage. You want that between 12 and 14 or higher, based on manufacturer specifications, to make sure that the battery is in proper functioning order. Then we have our fuel gauge. We also do not let that get below half. We would refuel before we get to half, and it is in proper working condition. You have your air pressure. This is the front and rear air pressure indicators. A fully charged system is going to be between 120 and 140 psi, and right now we're sitting right about 120, a little over. So the air system is fully charged. Over here we have our parking brake. This is over to the right. You have your gear selector. Over here we have our cruise control or high idle to turn on, and we can press that button for cruise control. This is the park regen, and these are the 3 tanks, the 2 prime tanks and the 1 wet tank. You can drain your air, and then we have our stereo. Over here on the right hand side or the left hand side of the driver's compartment, we do have our sun visor. It is transparent in color, so we can see through it. It is properly mounted and secured. It does function as it should, so we're going to go ahead and put that one up for now. In front of me I do have my other sun visor. It is transparent in color, so we can see through it. It is properly mounted and secured, so I'm going to go ahead and put that one up. On this bus, I don't have a fan to my left. I only have a fan here in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and turn that fan on. Right here is the button for the fan. It works on low. It works on high. So the fan is in proper working condition, and it is properly mounted and secured. The student mirror is properly mounted and secured. It is solid. It is not cracked or damaged in any way, and the rubber seal around the mirror is in good condition, and it is not damaged or torn. At this point, I would ask one of my tester to help me verify that all my lights on the outside of the bus are working. So I would ask the tester, at this time I would like to verify that all my lights are working. Would you mind stepping off and helping me with that test? Okay, then you're going to go through your left and right. You're also going to do your hazards. You are going to do your headlights. You are going to do your student hambers. And when you open the door, you're going to make sure that your student reds are working. The stop sign should come out, as well as the lights on the front and rear of the bus are all light up. You will also check your brake pedal to make sure your brake lights are working in the rear. And you're also going to put the bus in reverse to make sure that not only that the signal alarms that you're backing, but also that your reverse lights are light up in the back. You're going to do all of those for the front and rear, except for the reverse. You only need to do that in the rear, in the brake pedal. All the other lights are going to be tested from the front and the rear. You're also going to want to make sure your turn signals and hazards on the left and right side of the bus are also working during this test. Now that test is complete, I'm going to go ahead and start my brake test. I'm going to start that with a fully charged system. With the fully charged system, that is between 120 and 140 psi. So All right, so for the first test, I'm going to do the applied air leakage rate. So for this test, I do need to have the engine off. In my particular bus, the key does have to be turned back on, but the engine does not have to be started. I'm going to release the parking brake with my foot on the service brake, and I'm going to firmly apply pressure to the service brake and hold it. We're going to hold it for 1 minute, and we should lose no more than 3 psi on the gauge. All right, now that's been 1 minute. We have lost 0 psi. So now, without restarting the bus or the engine, I am going to do the emergency warning system. The emergency warning system is going to come on at approximately 60 psi. It'll indicate with a light on the dash and a buzzer to indicate that the air is getting low. And then we're going to do the low air warning, and then that should also pop out the parking brake at 30 psi. Or sorry, 40 psi. Sorry, it changed. All right, so at 60 psi, approximately 60 psi, the indicator light and the buzzer will go off, and at 40 psi, the parking brake will pop back out. So there's my indicator. It's hard to see in the sun, but the indicator light is on and it is buzzing. Then I'm going to continue, and at approximately 30 psi, 40 psi, my parking brake will pop back out, which it did right at 30 psi. Excuse me. Now we're going to do the air pressure build up rate. So I am going to have to restart the engine, and I'm going to build the pressure between 1200 and 1500 RPMs. Once I get to 85 psi, I'm going to let off the accelerator, and it's got to raise from 85 to 100 psi within 45 seconds. So we'll go ahead and start the bus now. The warning indicators are still on. So I'm going to rev the engine to about 1400. Once the air gets to 85, I'm going to let go and monitor it for 45 seconds to make sure that it reaches the 100 psi level. We're approximately 85 psi, so we're going to start the countdown now for 45 seconds and make sure that our needle moves to at least 100 psi within that 45 seconds. Alright, we have reached over 100 psi in far less than 45 seconds, so that is safe. Now we are going to check our parking brake. To do so, with the engine on. Oh, I'm sorry. After we do the build up 85 to 100 psi, we need to check our cutout. It did cut out at 120. You can hear it. It releases the air. And then we need to do the cut in. So we're going to release the emergency brake, and I'm going to pump the service brake down to 90 psi and make sure that my needle does raise back up. I dumped it a little too low. Don't go that low. But the needle is rising, so we do know that that is working. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my service brake, parking brake, excuse me. I'm going to do the parking brake check now. So with the engine on and the parking brake emergency or parking brake engaged, I am going to put the bus in gear, And I'm going to apply the gas pedal to make sure the bus does not move. That is a good test. Now, with the bus in gear, I'm going to release the parking brake, and we're going to do the service brakes. To do so, with the parking brake off, I'm going to let the bus crawl to 5 miles an hour. I'm going to apply the service brake and make sure my steering wheel does not pull to the left or right, and that my service brake does stop the bus. Alright, so my steering wheel did not pull. The service brake did start the bus. So I am going to put it in reverse to indicate, or to verify that my reverse indicator is working, and to put myself back in place. Alright, the bus is now in neutral. And the parking brake test is done. So at this time I am going to leave the bus running just for this test, but at this time I would turn the key off. Okay? I'm going to leave it run so that the bus cools down for us, but I would turn the bus off at this point. Okay? You're going to do your inside check now. For your inside check, you're going to check all of your barrier walls on both sides of the bus, the rears, the seats. You're going to check the bottoms of the seats and that everything is properly mounted and secured. And you're going to check all the seats all the way back. You're also checking your windows to make sure that none of the windows on either side are cracked or damaged, and that all the seals are in good condition and not missing. You're going to check all of your emergency exits. You're going to make sure that they are properly labeled and that the instructions are on the window. We're going to open the red latch. You will hear the indicator. And that emergency exit is proper. Again, it's properly labeled. It is labeled with instructions, and the indicator does notify. We're still continuing to check all of our windows, that they are properly mounted and secured. The seals are in good condition. We're still checking all of the seats. We're checking our third emergency exit. It is properly labeled, and the instructions are on the window. Lift the red handle. It does alarm. We are in good condition. On this side of the bus, this is our fourth emergency exit. It is properly labeled above. The instructions are on the window. Lift the red handle. It does alarm. And that is also in good condition. When we get to the very back of the bus, we have our emergency exit door. It is properly labeled. The headboard is in good condition. It is not damaged or missing any pieces. The emergency exit instructions are properly labeled. And when we lift the red handle, the emergency exit does sound. All right. Back here on this particular bus, we do have a child check system. So at the end of our route, we would have to come back here and reset the child lock system, indicating that we checked the entire bus for any sleeping children. While we're checking for sleeping children, we're also looking for any items left behind. On the roof, we are going to check all of our cameras, make sure they're properly mounted and secured. There's 4 of them in this bus. So I would check all 4 of them, make sure they're properly mounted and secured. We're going to check our emergency roof hatch. We're going to make sure that it is properly labeled. And it is, and that the instructions are visible. We're going to pop it open, release it to exit. And it does open. And the alarm does sound and does go off when we shut it. As we continue forward, we're checking all of our lights on the side of the bus, making sure they're all properly mounted and secured on both sides, that they are free from any damages, no cracked lenses. When we get back to the front of the bus, we are checking our emergency exit here. I would check this one the exact same way I checked the one in the rear. I would pop it open, turn it to exit, make sure the alarm does sound. and then close it back up, latch to make sure the alarm does go off. Also, while we're walking the bus, you're going to check your floor mat. You're going to make sure that the rails and the mat itself are in good condition, not lift or torn, causing any tripping hazards. And this one is in good condition. And that will include or conclude our inside bus pre-trip, and we will continue outside. Grab the key. Oh, yeah. Just turn the bus off. Here. And like I said, for the inside test, the bus is off, but the key is on. That way the alarms all sound. Okay. On your way out, you grab your key, because you never leave your key on, or the bus unattended with the key inside of it. Do me a favor. Turn it, start it, turn the wheel to the left. Just for you guys in your notes, when you're done with the brake test, turn the wheel to the left. On this particular bus, it really doesn't matter, but I just want you to do it. Okay. All right, so we are going to start on the front tire. For this style bus, I do need to have the engine open, or the hood open. So I'm going to release both of my latches. And lift the hood. I'm going to come to this side. And I'm going to start with the front tire. With the front tire, I'm going to check the tread. I'm going to make sure it's at least 2/32 of an inch. 4/32 of an inch on the front. And that it is not retreaded or recapped. I'm going to check the entire face of the tire to make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. This one looks to be in good condition. I'm going to check the rim itself for any damages or illegal welds. I'm going to make sure it's properly mounted to the tire and in good condition. And it is properly mounted and secured. I'm going to check my valve stem and I'm going to make sure that it is properly capped. And if I had an air pressure gauge, I would check to make sure that my tire pressure was at least 100 to 110 PSI. Then I'm going to check my lug nuts. I'm going to make sure that they are all tight, nothing is loose, showing any shiny metal or any rust that would indicate that they are loose, which I do not see, so they are in good condition. They are properly mounted and secured, nice and tight. I'm going to check my hub seal. I'm going to make sure that it is not leaking. It's a little greasy, but it is not leaking. So that is in good condition. I'm going to come behind the tire. And I'm going to check the brake drum and the linings. I'm going to make sure they are not dangerously low and they are in good condition, properly mounted and secured, and no leaks. Also on the brake drum, you want to look for any hot spots that would indicate that it's rubbing wrong, and that is in good condition as well. This is your brake booster, or your brake, what's the word? What's the brake chamber? It is properly mounted and secured, and the brake lines are free from any damages or abrasions, and nothing is leaking, nothing is wet, so that is in good condition. Then you're going to look at your slack adjuster, which is right here, and your push rod. You're going to make sure that on the push rod there is not more than 1 inch of play, and that it is in good condition, properly mounted and secured. Down here we have our leaf springs that go all the way across. They are properly mounted and secured with that bolt, as well as in the back. So they are properly mounted and secured. There's no damages, they're not cracked. We're also checking our U-bolts to make sure that they are there. They're properly mounted and secured, and they are not broken or damaged. We have our shock absorber. We're checking it for leaks, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured, and it is in good condition, which it is. All right. And with that, we are going to continue down the side of the bus. I'm going to be checking from the top, my clip lights or clearance lights all the way down the bus. The front one and the middle one are amber in color, and the one in the rear is red. They're all properly mounted and secured. They are not cracked or damaged. So those are good. From the outside, I'm going to check all of my windows, making sure that they're not cracked or damaged, and the seals are in good condition, not missing or cut, and properly secured to the bus. I'm going to check the bus body all the way down. I'm going to make sure that it is in good condition. Everything on it looks like it's properly mounted and secured. There's no damages, new damages from the last time I drove it. I'm going to check my route number sign. I'm going to make sure it's properly mounted and secured to the bus, which it is. I have my outside step light. It is properly mounted and secured and clear in color. This is my DEF tank. I would pop this open, check and make sure my cap is nice and tight and that the door is properly mounted and secured. Also, my reflectors, I have 2 amber and 1 red in the back. The amber is in the middle and in the front. My bus number is properly labeled and it is not damaged or torn. And then my turn signal and hazard lights on the side of the bus, there are 2. They are amber in color and they are properly mounted and secured with no damage. Then I'm going to also check all of my rub rails. I'm going to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured to the bus all the way back, and that they're not damaged, missing, or falling off, and they are good as well. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to check my under storage compartment. Just hold it up. Okay. I would lock it with the lock to the bus to hold it up. And I'm just checking underneath to make sure that I don't see any new damages, and that the seal is in good condition all the way around. And on some buses, you can also check the frame of the bus in there and verify that the frame is in good condition and there is no illegal welds. Now we're at the back of the bus. At the front tire on this particular bus, it does not have a splash guard. But on most buses, the front wheel does have a splash guard, just like the rear wheel. So you want to check your splash guard. You want to make sure that it is free from any damages and that it's properly mounted and secured. You're going to check your mud flap, make sure it's properly mounted and secured, and no more than 8 inches off the ground. On the rear tires, there is 2, so we would check them both. They have to be at least 2/32 tread depth on both of those, and they can be recapped. On the rim itself, you're going to make sure it's properly mounted to the tire and that there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on the wheel, on the tire itself. On the rim, you want to make sure that it is in good condition, it's properly mounted and secured, and there's no illegal welds. We're also going to check our lug nuts and make sure that they are properly mounted and secured, nice and tight. And we're looking for any rust indications or any bare metal that would show that they have been loose. On the back of the bus, instead of a hub seal, we have the axle seal. It is not leaking, so it is properly mounted and secured and not loose, so it is in good condition. Back here, we're going to check the same thing as the front. We're going to check our leaf springs in the hangers to make sure they are properly mounted and secured on the front and rear. We're also going to check the airbag right there and making sure it's properly mounted and secured. We're also going to check right behind the hanger there, the round pole you can see is the drive shaft and the safety hanger. We're going to make sure that that is properly mounted and secured. We're also checking the brake drums and linings, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured and not running dangerously thin. We're also going to check the slack adjuster and push rod back here, making sure that there's no more than 1 inch of play on the push rod. And we're also going to check the shock absorber, making sure that the shock absorber is not leaking or damaged of any kind and it is properly mounted and secured. We're also going to check the brake chamber and the hoses from the brake chamber. We're going to make sure that they are not leaking or bulged or cracked, and we do not see any leaking from those. So that is in good condition as well. Continuing down the side of the bus, we do check our emergency exits, both of them. There's 2 on each side. We're checking to make sure that they are properly labeled and that the reflector tape does go all the way around and that the reflector tape is not damaged or missing or peeling off. And those are both in good condition, so we can move on. Over here we have our diesel fuel door. We're going to open that up, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. The gas cap itself is properly mounted and secured and not loose. and latch that back up, indicating that it is good. Continuing down the side of the bus to the rear, I'm going to check my clip lights at the top, indicating that they are red in color on the rear of the bus. They are properly mounted and secured. They are not cracked or damaged. The school bus sticker itself is in good legible condition. It is not peeling or missing. The emergency door is properly labeled. And the arrow indicating how to open it is available. We're going to open the door all the way, making sure that it locks in position, which it does. So that is good. We're going to check all of our light student reds and ambers at the top, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured in the correct colors, and the eyebrows as well, that they are properly mounted and secured, not missing or damaged. We're going to check all of our windows, making sure that the glass is in good condition, it's not cracked or damaged, and that all of the seals around the windows are in good condition and not cracked or missing. We're going to check our turn signal or four-way hazards, and they are amber in color on both sides. We're going to check our tail light and or brake lights, making sure that they are properly colored as red, and that they are properly mounted and secured to the bus. And we're going to check our reverse lights as well, indicating that they are properly mounted and secured, and that they are clear in color. We're also going to check our tail lights on both sides, that they are properly mounted and secured. They are red in color. And we're checking our license plate. In this particular bus, the light for the license plate comes off of the tail light, and you just want to make sure that that is not cracked or damaged, and it is properly mounted and secured, as well as the license plate properly mounted and secured. We're going to check our bumper. We're going to make sure that it is properly mounted and secured, that's not loose or damaged, nothing is missing, and it is in good condition, as well as the bus number is properly labeled. As we continue around the side, you will see that the tailpipe does not extend out more than 2 inches past the bumper, so that is perfect, good condition. Now on this side of the bus, I'm going to check it exactly like I did on the other side of the bus, just indicating any key differences. So everything is in good condition, just like it was on the other side of the bus, as far as the windows, the rub rails, the bus body. The bus is properly labeled with the company name. Our side markers, our turn signals, or hazard lights are properly mounted and secured, just like they were on the other side. Nothing different on the rear tires, so we're going to move forward. Here we're going to make sure our route placard is properly mounted and secured to the bus, which it is. We're going to check our stop sign. We're going to make sure that both lights on the front and rear are properly mounted and secured, red in color and not cracked or damaged. We're going to check our airbag or bladder and make sure that it is not dried out, cracked, damaged, and that it's properly mounted and secured, as well as the wire here. It is in place with the cotter pins. Both cotter pins are in place. So the stop sign is in good condition. Ow. We are going to open the fuse door. We're going to make sure that all of our fuses look like they are in good condition, that nothing is missing, all your wires are free from any damage or fraying, and that everything is properly mounted and secured. Nothing looks out of place. We're going to go to the battery door. Now, if this area smelled like sulfur, I would not open this door, but because it does not, I'm going to go ahead and open it. I'm going to check that the battery tray is properly mounted and secured. The batteries are locked in place. The wires are all in good condition, not missing or damaged, not frayed, and they are properly mounted and secured. The door as well is properly mounted and secured, and the hinges in good working condition. I'm going to check my driver's mirror, or my driver's window. I'm going to make sure that it is not cracked or damaged, and the seals are all in good condition. I'm going to check that the antenna is properly mounted and secured to the bus. I'm going to go ahead and check my side driver mirrors here. I'm going to make sure they're properly mounted and secured to the bus. Up front here, on the front tire, the only difference between this side and the other side is going to be the steering gearbox and your steering linkage. And they are properly mounted and secured with the castle nut and cotter pin on this side and that side. And from here, you can get a better look at the brake chamber and the slack adjuster and push rod. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close my hood. And remember to latch it. I'm going to check my crossovers, make sure they're properly mounted and secured. And latch the right side here. All right. At the top of the bus, I'm going to make sure that my clip lights or clearance lights are in good condition. They are amber in color on the front of the bus. They are properly mounted and secured, and they are not broken or damaged. The school bus logo is properly labeled. It is not peeling or damaged. The eyebrows on both sides are in good condition. They are properly mounted and secured. The student reds and ambers on both sides are in good condition, indicating the correct color. They are properly mounted and secured and not damaged or cracked. The windshield itself is in good condition, free from any cracks or damages. It is properly mounted and secured, and the rubber seal all the way around the windshield is in good condition and not peeling, torn, or cracked. I would also check my wiper blades. You want to make sure that the wiper blades are sitting flush with the windshield. And when you lift them up, you want to check the wiper blade itself to make sure that it is in good condition and not cracked or damaged. And you're going to check both of those. Coming down to the front of the bus, we're checking the headlights to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured. They are clear in color. They are not cracked or damaged. They are properly mounted and secured. I think I said that. And then our front bumper, we're going to make sure that it is properly mounted and secured, not cracked or damaged or missing any pieces. And because I'm here and I can see it, the radiator and condenser are properly mounted and secured behind the front of the grille there, and free from any debris. Over on this side of the bus, I'm going to check that my mirrors are properly mounted and secured, and that the glass on both sides mirrors are free from any cracks or damages, and they're properly mounted and secured as well. And at this time, my complete pre-trip is complete. Yeah.